Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Black and White United Show. I'm your host, Andreas. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. In today's episode, we're going to review our 36-point win against Richmond at the MCG. Roll the intro.
0, 1. Let's get started.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Hopper Bros Barbecue. For all your tips and tricks and everything barbecue, make sure you give them a like on Instagram. Okay, so it was a wet, miserable, cold day at the MCG this afternoon. And to be honest, that was the type of game that was played. It was just sloppy from the start. Both teams just struggled to get their hands on the ball properly. The flow of the game, it took at least a quarter of it to really sort of sink in. The good thing was, though, that when the game sort of is still in that balance in that first half, we just continued to put pressure on the scoreboard, which was really good. With that being said, Richmond were obviously right there. We just needed to get that 2 or 3 goal flow on it, and eventually came towards in that second half. But all in all, it was just, I feel like the last 3 games against Richmond that we've played, obviously this year, last year, and in 2023, have just been real sloppy, scrappy types of game of football. So, you know, I feel like they've sort of dragged us down to that level when we play them. I would have preferred to have played Richmond, obviously, at the start of the season with the better fixture, but that wasn't the case, and we obviously played more of the stronger sides at the start, which was fine. But I think today it showed, again, a few different things of our game that I don't think are working for us moving forward, and I'm going to touch on them in a second. But just, I have to touch on Nick Dacos' performance. It was 42 disposals. I think he kicked like 3 goals. Some of the goals that he kicked, especially that third one on the left foot, was just incredible at a really, not at a critical part of the game, but just at a time of the game where Richmond were just getting a little bit of momentum forward, and we were just trying to push it forward and see what we could do up in our forward line. And then when he got that ball and he kicked it, that was just absolutely fantastic. I love that goal. That was just the sealer there. That was the 3 Brownlow votes for him there regardless. And if he doesn't get the 3 votes for this game, I'll be completely shocked. So I just wanted to touch on Richmond for a second, because there's 4 players that I just want to quickly mention. I thought that Hopper and Short were probably their 2 best players for the day. I thought Hopper didn't trouble us as such, but he was just their link-up man. He was their go-to man. He was the one that was giving them, he was just that important link in their chain going forward. Short obviously had a really good game as well, but the other 2 that I want to talk about is Jonty Fout and Sims for Richmond. They're going to be stars. They are going to be Sims, even though he sort of looks like him, the way he marks the ball and he kicks it, he reminds me a little bit of Jack Riewoldt. I think he's got a bit of Jack Riewoldt about him. And Jonty Fout, for however you pronounce his name, he just looks like he's got just a good, solid, tall to medium-sized forward look about him. I think that's something really good for Richmond moving forward. I would have loved to have had Sims at Collingwood, but with that being said, credit to Richmond. Those two did give us a little bit of trouble in the sense of, like, I don't know, just presenting, marking, drawing defenders in and stuff like that, and they're young too. So credit to them. I think they're going to be good players for the Tigers moving forward. Okay, so I need to talk about the one thing today that just got me the most, and it was so frustrating to watch. Our link-up chain of handballs, the overuse of handballs. Now, I went to the game. I sat on level 2 in the Shane Warne stand, and I was with Dan, who's on, who will be on the Sharon stand on Tuesday night, and we could both see it. It was just handball, and then it was the last handball. We needed to kick it into the forward line. It's wet weather football. Grab the footy and kick it long into the forward line. Kick it to a tall forward that was there. Membry was kicking goals today. Checkers kicked a few goals today. Put it in the forward line, and if there's no one there on the drop of the ball, it's going to bounce. It's going to skid through. We're going to score. I would rather score a behind than just the overuse of hand passes. We get tackled, which we got tackled so many times in our forward 50 and in the middle of the ground, where it's just resulted in them just slingshotting it back into their forward line against the higher team sides, against a Brisbane, against an Adelaide away, even against the Hawthorn, they will crucify you. So I think that's one big lesson that we've learned today, is not to overuse the handball. I will single out Tom Mitchell. He did have a relatively good game. I mean, he got 30 something or 28 disposals or 30 disposals or something like that he got. But, there was times of the game where he decided to kick the ball and it actually looked really dangerous. He did a couple of turnovers with his kicking as well, but the fact is he just wanted to move the ball forward. That was great. But there was times during the game where he's gone for the, and so it wasn't just him, but it was just the last, like the handball. You don't need to handball that to that person under pressure. I think it was Quainer, I think it was Nick Dacos or Sidebottom. You don't need to hand pass it when they're under pressure like that. It's just pointless. Get the ball and kick it into the forward line. Now that also is to our forwards, probably do need to present a little bit more when the ball's coming down, but it is what it is. Just against other sides, it's just not going to work. So I'm hoping that we don't overuse that link up chain too much, where you don't need to do that last handball. And I think that even like I think it was the North Melbourne game, I feel like we're still looking for Nick Dacos a little bit too much and we're relying on it. And I don't want that to come across into the finals, because if he's always the go-to man, he's gonna be tagged. He's gonna have someone on him against the top sides. So it's not going to pay off. But that's just my own personal observation. Dan noticed it as well at the footy today. It was just a little bit of the overuse there. Now, just quickly, we look like we are going to lose Sully for a little bit, which is a bit of a shame, because I don't think he's in our best 23, but he has put in so much effort to get to where he is, and he's done a PCL. So, I mean, if you go by, I think when McStay did his PCL, I think it was about 6 weeks or so. I mean, that's leading right up into the finals. We're going to get players back, which I'll touch on in a second. So it's a bit sad to see that happen. Although I don't think he was probably in our best 23, but what he's been able to do for us since he's come into the side and sort of solidify his spot in the side for the big majority chunk of the season is fantastic. But another thing too, I did want to touch on before we talk about the ins and outs for next week. I did like Markov coming on as a sub, and I felt like he gave us a lot of run, especially down the wing. Lipinski was a bit quiet today. I'm not sure on his stats. I haven't looked at it, but he was a little bit quiet today. He had a bit of the fumbles as well. But with that being said, I mean, you got to take into consideration the conditions of the game and stuff like that too. So you just let that slip. But I thought Markov did really well when he came on. Does he make the cut for next week? Let's get to it in a second. Okay, so my ins for next week against Brisbane, I think these are going to be the changes. Jordan De Goey will come in, Bobby Hill will come in, Frampton comes in, Howe comes in, and obviously Pendlebury comes in, who was a late out today. So that's 5 ins are going to come in next week. My outs are going to be Ed Allen, Sully obviously because he's injured. I think Markov just misses out. There will be another one. I'm not sure who. And I would think against a side like Brisbane, Tom Mitchell, there is a question mark about him, in my opinion. I do think that Brisbane might be a bit too quick for him. But with that being said, he's got a lot of good techniques in regards to tagging or stopping Lachie Neale. So, and he's had a good history against him. So there's a question mark on that too. So there is going to be 2 outs that are going to be a little bit different. I don't want it to be Hoskin Elliott, because he's Mr. Reliable and you need that. He kicked a couple of goals today, which I thought he was fantastic. So you're definitely going to have Allen, Sully and Markov that are going to miss the Brisbane game, I think. And the other 2, I'm not sure about. In regards to the sub for next week, I would start Jordan De Goey as sub against Brisbane and inject him, halfway through that third quarter or at halftime and give us that extra run. But we'll talk about the Brisbane game later on during the week. There's just a couple of other things I want to talk about as well. So all in all, to close out the Richmond review, 36 points. I think I tipped us between 38 and 35, so I was pretty much on the mark there with that 36-point win. I think anything under 30 points today wouldn't have been good enough. We had a chance in the last quarter to really blow them out, let's be real, and we didn't. Schultz missing that goal where he hit the post, and I think it was Elliott had one really good chance when he got the ball on the punt road and got the hand pass receive, and he went to kick in and kicked it out of bounds on the full. So there's little things like that we can still improve on. I'm not convinced that we're at our best yet. And I think there's been there's so much moving of the magnets and so much changes within our side. I think we are fairly unsettled. With that being said, like I said last week, we haven't been pumped by side. Forget opening round. That was a long time ago now. We haven't been pumped by side. Geelong after the siren, Gold Coast Suns, we only rocked up for 2 quarters. Fremantle, the same thing. You know, like we forgot to play in the last 10 minutes of the game. So, and we only lost by a point. And we've got these really key players of our side that are out. The biggest inclusion next week is going to be Billy Frampton. In my opinion, just the structure of the back line, it'll just make things so much more solid in defence and allows other boys to do what they've got to do. I'm glad we won today. We needed to win today. We're back on top, so we can put that on the internet, thank God. I just feel like, though, we've got to get this side settled now. We got this win. It was important. We've got to get this, what's the right word for it? We just need to be continuous in the people that we pick and try and get ourselves solid enough moving forward into the finals. So there's only minimal changes and we haven't got, 5 or 6 new faces after the Brisbane game. Just need to point out something also. Buy a membership to the channel because there are going to be some videos that I do which I am going to release beforehand, which will be members only. So I'm going to start off by doing that and then more content's going to come through. To the people who commented on my last video, in the Richmond preview video saying that, you shouldn't be doing previews on Tuesdays, Bo McCrew was out, this is that. The video was posted and done in the morning. This stuff was announced later in the during the day. When it was announced, I had it as a member-only video. Okay, so if you really want more updated stuff, purchase a membership to the channel. They're $2.99. Okay, you don't need to slander me off or anything like that. I know what I'm saying. Okay, thanks. So we beat Richmond by 36 points. We're sitting on top of the ladder at the end of round 20 on 60 points with a percentage of 135 even. Adelaide a second, and I think they're probably going to be the biggest challenger that we're going to come across soon. They're sitting on 56 at a percentage of 146. So looking ahead into the next few weeks, the Brisbane, the Hawthorn, and the Adelaide game are absolutely massive. Before I finish off, just a quick shout out to all the St Kilda supporters. That game against Melbourne was absolutely unbelievable. I never talk about other games on this channel when I'm doing a review of a game, but that game, Wanganeen Miller, that last minute was unbelievable. And if you haven't already watched that game or the highlights, watch it, because if you're a football lover in general, that's definitely something that you should watch. Make sure you tell me what you think, leave a comment, call it as you see it, and as always, go the Pies.